Okay, I'm here to tell you a little bit about virtual field trips and to give you an idea of what we plan to do this year with virtual field trips. So if it's new to you, if it's not new to you, we're going to go through what exactly we're going to do and how I'm going to help you this year to plan virtual field trips in your classroom. So by the end of this year, you're going to be able to find opportunities for virtual field trips on your own. You're going to be able to arrange a virtual field trip or more on your own, and you are going to be able to produce a virtual field trip for your students where you will actually present and have and hold a virtual field trip with your students. So it's really important whenever you're starting anything new that you start where you are, just like how we give our students a pre-assessment to figure out what they already know, so that way we don't start going over things that they already do know how to do, or we don't start with something that's way ahead of them. So I've sent you guys a survey that you're going to fill in questions like, what do you know about virtual field trips? Why do you think you might want to use one? How do you feel about the current field trips? And things like, what are some possible field trips that you'd like to take with your students? So a big question that I have a lot of people always ask me is, why go virtual? My students asked me, my co-teachers this year asked me at first, why go virtual? Well, there's a lot of pros to going virtual. Things like it's free. I've heard a lot of people say, and I've heard a lot of parents say, that it's really hard coming up with the money for a really expensive field trip. And let's face it, some of the coolest field trips are really expensive for our students. And that's hard for our parents to come up with. There's also no paperwork involved with the field trip that has to go to the office. We don't have to fill out all those millions of forms and save them and send them home and all that. The virtual field trips doesn't exist. We also don't have to arrange for transportation. No more calling around or having Jean call around for buses, getting prices, getting quotes, filling in all that the day of the field trip, going to get on the buses. That's no more with virtual field trips. But you can go anywhere in the world. So if you want to have an opportunity where your students can talk to someone in Europe or in Asia, or maybe just at another school down the road, that's something that our students don't really get to do very often, but they can totally do that with virtual field trips. And it builds a deeper understanding. So just like a regular field trip that you go to, and they can see the science center, they can learn about hurricanes, they can learn about the aquarium and the different animals. Well, you could do that in your classroom too. Maybe the aquarium got canceled for you and you're not going to have another opportunity. Well, you can visit an aquarium in Baltimore, or you could visit an aquarium over in Australia. It's open with virtual field trips. It's also a really great once-in-a-lifetime experience for some of them. Really, for a lot of kids. I know that I've never been to Australia. I've never been very far outside of the United States, and our students haven't either, but they can experience that. And it's great motivation for them. They get to become part of the world, not just part of our classroom or part of our school. They actually get to reach out and experience other parts of the world. But of course, there are some cons to virtual field trips. Let's face it, you're going to have to go online and you're going to have to search out some field trips, which is not really any different than what you have to do already for in-person field trips. And you're going to have to talk to some people or email some people. Again, don't you already kind of do that for real field trips? You're going to have to plan a virtual field trip. It's not something you can just go online at any time and arrange a conversation with someone in another country. And you're going to have to present it to your students. So that means you're going to need certain things, and you're going to have to be the person in your classroom who is facilitating this field trip, not just having a tour guide leading your kids around and you just supervising. That's kind of gone with virtual field trips, but yet in a way it's not. So a virtual field trip is just an opportunity where students can either learn something from someone or that's not in person, or they can go see something that they're not physically traveling there. So you're going to need a few things. You're going to need your device, you're going to need your projector, you're going to need your speakers, and you're going to need a microphone, which, by the way, we have these at Seneca. We have plenty of microphones for you to use, and they're super easy to actually use. You may need a Skype name, but it's free, it's easy to set up. So in 4th grade, we did a virtual field trip this year to the Thomas Edison National Historical Park, which is in Jersey. It's not very far, it's about 20 minutes from New York City. So the kids got to learn from an actual park ranger all these different things about Thomas Edison, who, of course, we know was a huge inventor. They got to actually experience his lab that was set up, that the tour guide, that our park ranger walked us through and showed the students all of this different materials and all the different things that they had there that these kids aren't experiencing in real life in person, but they're experiencing it in real life through a computer or through a phone. So I had the kids write down questions that they wanted to ask, and it started off with the simple things that they could think of. We had some brainstorming ahead of time, and we had talked about in science things like the kids were creating prototypes for our science unit. They made a prototype of something, so they wanted to think about, well, Thomas Edison made prototypes, so what did he do for his design process? Because we know what we did for ours. So they asked things like, how old was the building you were in? And did kids work in the factory? And then they asked deeper questions like, why did he collect it? But then they asked, why did he invent a music machine if he didn't play any instruments? Where they actually learned, and even the teachers learned, that apparently Thomas Edison was legally deaf. Which was amazing for the kids to learn. It was amazing for the adults to learn because it's something that we definitely didn't know. The kids were talking about it for days, and it just took an hour out of the day. We didn't have to go anywhere. We just sat in the classroom, and we were able to have all of the 4th grade in one room learning, where they all were engaged with this park ranger in New Jersey. So you might not be great with technology. Maybe you're saying, Megan, I'm really not so great with this. I'm nervous about having something where I've got to use my device and I have to set it up, and there's so many things I could mess up. This just makes me nervous. But that's okay, because there are staff members here that have done virtual field trips, and they are experts at them. They can come help you, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pairing people up. So I can come help you, or some of the 3rd grade teachers can come help you. We have a lot of different experts that have done things like this, and they can come help you this year with actually planning a virtual field trip. I'm going to match you up with someone. So why change? Well, at a professional development, I'm going to actually present a virtual field trip for all of us to experience. So it's actually with something called Journey to Aquarius, and it's on Skype in the Classroom, which is a really cool site, and it has a lot of resources. So it has, like, here's their actual website. You go down, you see there's animals, it's arranged by other subjects. There's a filter, so you can actually filter it by age group or subject or availability. So if you have a specific time or a date that you want to have a virtual field trip, there's all these different opportunities. But what Journey to Aquarius is it's this underwater science lab where it's 60 feet underwater in the Florida Keys. So you're going to be able to actually talk to scientists that are in the only underwater lab in the world. They actually have Skype sessions where you're going to be able to ask them questions. You're going to be able to see things. They're up close to the actual reef and studying it. So it's something that, I don't know about you, but I'm not planning on going scuba diving anytime soon to see the reef, and there would be no way for most of us to go see this underwater lab unless you somehow changed careers and decided, hey, I'm going to become a scientist and go for this. But if that's not coming up with any ideas for you, I've also made a Padlet that I'm going to email for everyone to view or to add to at any time of different ideas and different possible virtual field trips to kind of keep the wheels moving in your head this year as we go through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out, and I'm going to, after I create a digital sign up so that you're going to be able to co-plan. So if you're new to this and you're like, whoa, I have no idea what I'm doing. It sounds great that I'm not going to do all this paperwork, but I really don't want to do all this planning. This is just too much. I promise you, it's going to be so much better for you. I know I can't stand doing all of the forms and taking all the time and then going through and then collecting the money. Oh my gosh, every time my students forget the money and then I have to send it down by a certain time. You don't have to worry about all that with virtual field trips. So I'm going to send out a sign up so you're going to be able to plan. And I'm not just going to throw you in the deep end where you're going to have to sink or swim for yourself. I'm going to pair you up, or I'm going to help you personally plan a virtual field trip and actually complete a virtual field trip this year with your students of your choice. And then at different faculty meetings and different faculty meeting collaboration, so time that we're going to have where we're going to be able to talk with other people, so talk with virtual field trip experts or talk with maybe some professional development people that we could Skype with, some Skype in the classroom experts and things where we actually get to plan a virtual field trip and have time for it. So it may sound overwhelming, but I promise you that by the end of the year, you will be able to plan. You will have already had the opportunity to plan, and you will have conducted an outstanding virtual field trip that I promise your kids will love.